Welcome, ladies and gents, my name is Curci, so let's talk about the first ever Batman game that I've ever played, believe it or not, Batman Arkham Knight. Now, yeah, I'm not lying, this is actually the first ever Batman game that I've ever played, despite the fact that people have been trying to get me to play at Arkham Asylum and Arkham City for years. I have so many friends that are really hardcore fans of the series, and I miss them. I miss jumping onto the series, but so when Arkham Knight came out, I was like, yep, I'm gonna play this, and I'm gonna see what everybody's talking about. And I gotta say, now I wanna go back and I want to go play the other two. Even though there are actually three. There's Arkham Origins, which wasn't made by Rocksteady. Rocksteady are the developers of the game, and they made Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and Arkham Knight. But then there's also Arkham Origins, which was made by another developer, and it's actually a prequel to all of them. I mean, the storyline links into the others, so all four games link to each other. Problem is, unless they remake those for the other console or the backwards compatibility for Xbox One uses those games, I'm probably not going to play them because I don't play my 360 anymore. Regardless, this game is fantastic, just stupid amounts of fun. First of all, I like playing as Batman. Batman is one of my favorite characters from when I was a kid. Like, I grew up as a DC fan. I think I've said that in a video before. And Batman is probably one of my favorite superheroes ever, and he's just so cool. The voice acting for him is top-notch. Reminds me of the animated series. I actually think it's the same guy. And I really like the other characters in the game. Like, I really like the villains. The villains are exactly how I would expect them to be. Great voice acting with them as well. Now, the story of Arkham Knight is that Batman is in the city of Gotham this time, and Scarecrow has decided that he's going to release this toxin on the city. First of all, the game has to have an empty city, otherwise Batman could possibly run a person over with the Batmobile. So the city has to be empty, so all the residents have to be gone so that the game can function the way that the game should function. It's basically a plot device to get the city to be empty, so Batman can run the streets and run over as many people as he wants. Like, I really enjoyed the story of it. It was just so good. Now, the thing that really shines about this game is the gameplay element. The hand-to-hand combat that Batman does is so awesome. You can counter people. Certain enemies require different strategies to overcome them, which I always love in video games. Like, the combat is very challenging, and what I really like is the stealth element. Like, as Batman, I feel like he should be very stealthy, should take people out one by one, just whoosh, gone. So I did that as often as I could. I hung upside down and just snatched people from the ground. I did silent takedowns. I sabotaged so many things. Like, I was very strategic, and I was very, like, hit and run. Like, as soon as they took a guy out, I was invisible. Nobody saw me. It was just, boom, that guy was gone. He never saw the Batman hit. And then his buddies come around, and they see that their buddy is down, and they know the Batman's around, but they're not sure where he is. Just every once in a while, when somebody goes off on their own, boom, they get knocked out. So it made me feel like Batman. I was super immersed. And then even when the moments happened where you had to fight other people that were surrounding you, I felt super capable. And in fact, in a lot of times, I was fighting a whole swarm of bad guys. Not once did I get hit. Also, like the gadgets in there as well. Like, Batman's utility belt comes with a lot of stuff. First of all, you have the Bat Claw. This is one of the things that I use the most in fights because when you go into detective mode, which is like just, you're able to see people through walls, and then if they're highlighted red, you know that they have a weapon. So one of the things that I would do all the time is I would use the Bat Claw to pull the weapon away from them. Now, they can pick their weapon back up and use it, but it would give me an opening to punch their face in until they finally died. Or not really died. Batman doesn't kill people in this game. In fact, the game likes to let you know a lot of the times that Batman is not actually killing people. He's just knocking them out. Because there are also these medics that can walk around and revive people. Even when you're in the Batmobile and you're shooting at tanks and blowing them up, those tanks are just drones. And even when you're driving around on the street and you run people over, there's like this little taser thing that goes off. So it's like, he didn't actually hit him, tasered him, and then he flew that way. Which I'm pretty sure if you get hit by that kind of electric charge, you're not gonna walk right forever, or you're gonna die. But whatever, it's a video game. You suspend realism because I'm Batman. But one of the other gadgets is the Disruptor. And the Disruptor, basically, you can target like weapons and jam them so that they won't work anymore. You could sabotage like ammo crates. So you basically have 3 charges on your disruptor. So basically what you would do is I would hit 2 guns and then I would hit the nearest ammo crate. So what these guys would do is that they would try to shoot me, realize that my gun doesn't work. Let me try to reload it. And then when they try to use that thing, they get electrocuted. And we talked about medics as well. Like, you can sabotage their stuff so that when they try to revive one of their other teammates, they get electrocuted. And then you also have this voice device. And basically what it does is that it throws a noise to somebody and it tells them to go investigate something. So let's just say, for example, on the voice device, I have their commander's voice, and I'm going to tell them to, hey, why don't you go investigate that weak wall? Little do they know that behind that weak wall, I have actually put explosive gel, another one of the gadgets that you can get, and I use it when it gets closer to explode it. Basically, it's a bomb, which, again, Batman doesn't kill anybody, so he doesn't die, the game really does kind of like push that bounds a little bit of like, yeah, I'm gonna run this guy over with an electric charge. He's gonna fly across the screen, but he's not dead. I'm coming at him at 100 miles an hour, and then psst, he's gone. And then this other guy is going right up to this weak wall, and then there's an explosion behind the wall. So Wall is coming at him with an explosion, but he's not dead. Either way, the game is really super fun. Whether you go up front and start wailing on dudes using your gadgets to take care of a situation, like you have a grapple that I use constantly. But regardless of how you go about a situation, if you're more stealthy like me, and you're just going around and you're using your voice devices, and you're using smoke bombs, and you're using little like traps all over the place, like that's fun. But if you go out and you start fighting people in combat, and you have like 20 guys around you, and you're countering them all, and you're doing really cool, like the animation for the game just looks so cool. It's just a stupid fun game no matter how you go about it. So let's recap. The story's really good, the combat is fantastic, and the gameplay is fantastic. One of the newer elements in the game is the Batmobile. Okay, so here's the thing. The Batmobile is a little rough to control regardless of how long you've been playing the game. It gets easier to control the more you play it, because once you start utilizing the brake to take on corners and stuff, like trying to track people down and follow people and dodging certain things, it's not the easiest thing in the world to control. Especially the first time you get introduced to it, where you're like, all right, I'm in battle mode, I'm not entirely sure how to go about the battle mode, and then there's so much going on when you're fighting in the Batmobile. It's just, sometimes it's really easy to go about it, a lot of times it's not so easy. Like, the more you get into it and the more practice you get, the easier it gets, but it's never 100% perfect. So I was a little wonky when it came to the Batmobile, although I think the Batmobile was a really cool addition to the game. It was the fastest way to get around the map, because you can go and use your grapple to jump on buildings and stuff, and then you can glide as well and upgrade both of those things so you can do those things faster, but you can also upgrade the Batmobile to make that go faster. Now, a lot of times I tended to glide all over the place, but whenever it was like forever away, let's just say like this is 1,400 meters away, I would jump into the Batmobile and I would go. We talked about this open world element, and one of the things that I always say about what's really important about an open world game is that, like, yes, you have your main story, and in Batman, the main story is fantastic. Really good characters, really good voice acting, really great villain, but then there are these other little side quests. You see, as Gotham has been evacuated, basically there's this militia that takes over, so you can do little side quests to kind of retake Gotham, either by disposing bombs that are in the road, taking over checkpoints, or going after these sentry towers and taking those out. Like, there are little things you can do to help retake Gotham from this militia force. But then there are these other missions, the most wanted people, because yes, Gotham is just open. There's nobody here. Banks are open to be robbed. Buildings are open to be burned. People are being murdered in the streets, and Batman has to take them all down. So you have classic villains like Two-Face or Penguin or Riddler, and a whole bunch of other guys as well, and each one of them has their own separate storyline. But I really wish that they had flushed that out a little bit better. What I mean is that they very much have this sort of side quest kind of vibe to it, where basically, like, let's just say, for example, Penguin's missions. Penguin's missions are essentially, you have to take out some weapon caches. I don't know the exact number of how many you have to do before you finally get Penguin, but let's just say 5. So you have to take out 5 weapon caches, and every single time you take out a weapons cache, it's the same routine. You go to the area, you tag a truck, you follow the truck on foot, and then you go into the building, you take out the bad guys, and you blow up the cache. Like, every mission was the same one. I really wish that they had really embraced the whole side quest kind of thing, where like, yeah, you did that the first time, and then the second time you did it, it was a little bit different, like not the exact same copy and pasted thing. Because what happened is that when I beat the main story, the game threw you back into the world of saying like, hey, you still have things to do, why don't you go out and do that? And the game just got a little repetitive, because even though I was mixing it up, I did a Riddler mission, I investigated this dead body that was nailed to the wall, I went and prevented a bank from being robbed by Two-Face, like I did like multiple different things to kind of mix it up, but at the end of the day, it was like, oh, I gotta do another Riddler puzzle so I can get through that quest line, I gotta stop another weapons cache, I gotta go take out this guy who's burning buildings and chase him down. It just got really repetitive, and it kind of weighed on me a little bit, especially since that was the only thing that I was doing at that time. It's an open world game, so there's other things I should want to do, and I did. Like, when I went through the main story, I did a lot of the main story because the main story is good, but then every once in a while I decided the game would always remind me of like, hey, there are still guys that are at large you should take out, and then you go and you do those things. But I really wish that the game had really flushed that out a little bit better. Like, make me want to embark on this little mission here, like it's different every time, like complete with cutscenes and everything, but it was still fun. Like, I never once thought it wasn't fun. It was still fun. Now, one of the other cool things in this game that really kind of springboard the future that Rocksteady has with DC games, and I think that they should really try to embrace, one of the coolest things that I've seen seen, and I'm gonna jump comic book series here for a second. There's a feature in this game where, like, if I go after weapon caches, I get to team up with Nightwing. If I do Riddler puzzles, at a certain point, I get to team up with Catwoman. And then in some story missions, you get to team up with Robin. Like, you can team up with other characters that are in that universe. But when you're in combat with, let's just say, for example, I'm in combat with Nightwing and I'm fighting, all of a sudden the game prompts you to say, like, yo, hit left bumper, you can do a team takedown. And then you do that team takedown, and then, like, you're playing as Batman, and here comes Nightwing, and then the camera shifts, and now you're playing as Nightwing, and you're fighting around. Like, you could switch between those characters at any point in time during those sequences from Batman to X person. But it really got in my head where I actually, every single time I was fighting with somebody else that I could also do team ups with, I ended up whistling the Avengers theme as I was doing it. So in the back of my mind, I'm like, you know what would be really cool? If Rocksteady decided we're gonna make other games, like now we're done with Batman. Batman's been established in the universe, and a lot of times in the game you hear like little audio things, like you hear dialogue of people referencing Superman or referencing Oliver Queen or Green Arrow. Oliver Queen is Green Arrow, if you didn't know that. Like, there are other heroes in this universe that aren't actually in this game, and I'm thinking to myself, like, why don't Rocksteady do those other games, have them cross over, and then do a Justice League game? Like, screw the movies, we got the video game. That would be awesome. I am 100% on board for that. Now, looking at it now, I'm like, you know what? That'd be fantastic. I know that it takes years to make a video game, but I'm on board for it. Just be like, yeah, take those years to make all those video games. Maybe even branch off into other, maybe WB Games looks at it and they say like, hey, Monolith Games did Shadow of Mordor, which is very Batman-esque. We'll have them make the Superman game. We'll have Rocksteady continue making the little Batman game. Maybe not so much Batman, but now it's a Nightwing game. We'll have another studio do this other thing. And it's just like, we have all these different games, just like Marvel does it, just like DC would like to do with their movies. And we're going to have some of them cross over. You get to do these cool team ups, and then when you finally get your Justice League game, it's like, yep, here's your Justice League game. That would be awesome. In the end, what I think about Batman Arkham Knight is that I really regret that I didn't play the other two Batman games. I really enjoyed my experience with Batman Arkham Knight. I think it's definitely going to be high up on the list of games that I played this year. So if you haven't played it, I definitely think that you should, especially if you haven't played any of the Batman games before, because this is definitely something that you need to experience. And I think a lot of games are actually taking that whole combat style. Like Shadow of Mordor is a perfect example. They took the same combat style from the Batman games, and they've moved it into Shadow of Mordor, and it works. Like, the Batman Arkham games has had that kind of effect on video games, the same way Gears of War did it for the cover-based shooting, where now, like, Mass Effect had adopted the same kind of combat style. Call of Duty kind of did it for the first-person shooter, although you could argue that it wasn't just Call of Duty, it was a bunch of other, you know. Basically, what I'm saying is that Arkham Knight did for the whole melee combat deal is what everybody's trying to adopt, because it's a system that works. So is Arkham Knight a great game? Yeah, it's really good. So if you haven't played it, definitely play it. Now I'm going to do something a little bit different here. Usually around this point in time, I say thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time. And I'm not going to do that just yet. For me, I don't like to talk about spoilers in my videos. Every once in a while, I will bring something up if I feel like I really, really want to talk about it. And right now, there's something in Batman Arkham Knight that I really, really want to talk about. So I decided to include everything that I wanted to say about the game before I started talking about this thing. So if you have not played Batman Arkham Knight, or you plan on playing it, either way, if you haven't played it, I would recommend that you guys stop watching at this point, and I'm going to say thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time. But if you have played it, maybe stick around, because I'm going to talk about something that's really cool. So we have our spoiler warning out of the way, just so you know. So all the people that don't want to have this thing spoiled, they've all left, and the people who don't care or have seen it, they stuck around. So here we go. The Joker is awesome in this game. So Joker, if you don't know, dies in Batman Arkham City. So they address that like right away. It's the first thing that you see when you start the game up. The Joker is being cremated. But what's really cool is that in Batman Arkham City, the plot of the game is that the Joker is being like I said, I haven't played the game, so I'm not really sure, but I have seen cutscenes for it. The Joker, like, his blood was like infected and it was killing him, so he was looking for a cure, and in order to get Batman to help him for a cure, what he did was that he took his own blood, he put it in Batman, and then he also sent it out to like all these different hospitals to like say like, you're gonna help me find this cure to save yourself, to save me, and to save all those other people. Now, fast forwarding to Batman Arkham Knight, some of those infected, including Batman, were never really cured, and they're basically turning into the Joker. So at a certain point in the game, Batman is trying to save the city of Gotham. He turns around and there's the Joker with a gun and he says, "Miss me?" But you learn later that the Joker is not really there. He's just in Batman's head. So throughout the game, you see Joker popping up all over the place. Even when you're out in the open world, he's just hanging out on like a railing, and then he makes comments of whatever happened last in the story. The voice acting with Joker is so good, but I just love his dialogue, and I love the sequences where he really gets involved. Like, there's one point in the game where you're trying to find somebody, and then you realize that the person that you're trying to find is Joker, and then Jokers or more Jokers, and Jokers are attacking you, and then they're all over the place, and they're laughing, and it's like Batman is losing his mind in this game, and it's awesome, because it's really like that kind of psychological thing playing on. You could argue that Joker is one of the villains in this game. Even though he's technically dead, he's still a strong force. And a lot of times he scares the crap out of you, because I think there was one time where I'm looking around for something and I turn around and there's nobody there, and I turn back around and I'm looking around and I turn back around and Joker's right in front of you, and I'm just like, Jesus God. Like, I like the dialogue that he has with Batman, where Batman never actually addresses him. It's just Joker talking to him. But the way Joker is just sitting there, like, Batman's ignoring him even though he realizes that Joker's around. Like, there's one sequence where Batman is trying to do something and Joker's right there and he goes, you know, if you stop doing what it is that you're doing, I can take control of your body and then everybody's gonna be okay. One of my favorite moments in the game, also one of my most gut-wrenching moments in the game, when Barbara Gordon is captured by Scarecrow, there's a portion in the game where she's behind a glass and then she goes to kill herself. And Joker just walks up and... Joker is easily one of the best things about this game, if not the best thing about this game. Whenever the Joker showed up on screen, he stole the scene. Like, he has some of the funniest lines, he has some of the best lines. It's so good, so well written. Just solidifies the fact that the Joker is one of the best characters in all of comics, regardless of the fact that if he's a villain or an anti-hero, it doesn't matter. He's one of the best characters in comic books today, which is why I'm super excited for this movie, which I don't really talk about all that much. I like to talk about movies because I see a lot of movies, so I'm gonna take a side note right now and just say I'm really excited for Jared Leto's Joker. Just because I know Jared Leto is such a great actor. Everybody kind of threw up their hands when they said, oh, I don't like the way he looks, doesn't look like the Joker. And I'm like, will you shut up? The way that he looks does not determine how he's going to act it. And it's just, let's give him a chance to actually play the movie on screen. And if he does really bad, then we can crucify him then. Before then, you haven't seen the movie, so shut up! But that's Batman Arkham Knight and everything that I wanted to say, plus a little extra. So, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.